The Bears, the Patriots, the Jets all opening voluntary camps today. Rookie head coaches getting that 2-week head start over the rest of the league. As we welcome you to NFL Live on a Monday alongside Dan Orlovsky, Field Yates. We have Mina Kimes, Adam Schefter, full house. Let's start with Aaron Glenn's team. Adam, remind us, what was the big move for the Jets this offseason?
Bringing in Justin Fields, Hannah. The Jets have turned over the QB1 job that used to belong to Aaron Rodgers to the former Steelers quarterback, Justin Fields. The Jets have made no secret of the fact that Fields is the man there, so much so that they're not expected to take a quarterback in the first round of the draft. Justin Fields now gets a new beginning in New York with a new head coach and new general manager. Meanwhile, New England has put...
You know what? We'll get to New England in just a second, but I love this shot. There he is in town. All right, let's go. It's kind of exciting, isn't it?
Sure is.
Dan, the man, what's the big question for the Jets this season?
Really, what or how they use that young player, the young man that we just saw, Justin Fields, their quarterback, because Tanner Engstrand, who's their new offensive coordinator in New York, who comes from Detroit, what's the offense going to look like? What's the mixture of schematics that they're going to put together? Because here's the reality. Justin Fields, since 2021, averages 6 yards per carry. That's only behind Lamar Jackson and Jayden Daniels. So you absolutely want to utilize that skill set, but that's not necessarily something that this offensive coordinator saw, certainly with Jared Goff in Detroit. So what is going to be the mixture of offense, scheme philosophy-wise, with the athlete that Justin Fields is, but also the plenty capable thrower of the football as a quarterback? Can they find that perfect marriage?
Yep, Tanner Engstrand with the Lions last 5 seasons, last 3 as passing game coordinator. Adam, on to New England. Many thought the Pats would be big spenders on the offensive side of the ball. They really made a splash defensively. Maybe that makes sense. Mike Vrabel taking over. What's the big move there?
Well, Hannah, when Mike Vrabel came in, he knew how much work there was to be done, and they started on the defensive side of the football. You see the notable defensive additions headline by Milton Williams and Carlton Davis. Harold Landry the third comes in. Robert Spillane, the linebacker from the Raiders. And so the Patriots attacked the defensive side of the football in free agency, which should allow them to focus in on the offensive side of the football in the draft.
Field, what's the big question?
Yeah, who's protecting Drake May is still the big question for the Patriots. There is an answer available at number 4 overall, most likely. That, of course, will be LSU's Will Campbell, who, despite the fact that he measured in with 32 5/8" arms at the combine, I believe is clearly the best tackle in this year's draft class, and a guy that I believe has the potential to become a Pro Bowl caliber player at the NFL level. Clean tape for him, not just this season, but the 2 years prior to that. The Patriots don't really have a ready-made option in-house. Vidarian Lowe, their starter from last season, showed that when he's on the field, the Patriots simply need to be better. This team has to find a way to protect their franchise quarterback.
Speaking of franchise quarterbacks, the Bears got theirs last season. Caleb Williams, first overall. They hired Ben Johnson as their head coach. Adam, what was their big move this offseason to support their investment?
Well, Hannah, you see it right there. The offensive line has been remade. They've traded for Joe Thuney. They've added Jonah Jackson through another trade. They signed Drew Dahlman in free agency from the Atlanta Falcons, and this is a line that really needed it. It allowed 68 sacks last season, the third highest total in NFL history in any one season for any one quarterback. Caleb Williams was battered around, and it was no surprise that when the new head coach Ben Johnson came in, that he saw what Detroit succeeded at, beefing up its offensive line, and the Bears wasted no time doing that, already adding 3 projected starters, and it wouldn't be a surprise if they added more help in the draft.
Well, the Bears have the 10th pick in the draft, Adam, as we know, and ESPN Analytics tells us there are several ways that they could go. They are most likely, according to analytics, to take Michigan corner Will Johnson or Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty, 19% chance. LSU tackle Will Campbell, his name comes up again and again. Third most likely selection at 13%. Mina, what do you think the Bears should do at 10?
Yeah, it's interesting to see Will Johnson there because cornerback is not one of my 2 outcomes that I think are most likely with pick 10. I have it as a choice for them between going with the trenches. And I say the trenches because it's both the offensive line, offensive tackle, or they could choose to bolster that defensive line, or adding a skill player, Ashton Jeanty, or perhaps even one of the tight ends, Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland. A lot of this is going to depend on simply who is actually available there at 10. There's a good chance Ashton Jeanty and Will Campbell aren't there. But if both of those two players in particular are there at 10, I think that's a very interesting decision for Chicago. Their new head coach, Ben Johnson, comes from a team that was built in the trenches in Detroit, but also a team that drafted a running back in the first round in Jahmyr Gibbs. So I think he's going to have an interesting choice to make.
If they're both there, you take the offensive tackle. And I understand interesting, but I believe it's easy if you're the Chicago Bears. MK, I agree with your point with Detroit, because when we think of the Lions, we think of, well, Jared Goff and Sam Laporta and Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, they all came after the offensive line. All of them came after the offensive line. So if I'm Chicago, Ryan Poles, the general manager, who's an ex-offensive lineman, Ben Johnson, who just came from that place, it's offensive line, build that. Also, DeAndre Swift is awesome. I think he's a really good player. So for me, this is easy if I'm the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, if Will Campbell is there, to me, it's a dream scenario for Chicago. I was just talking about how I think the Patriots should sprint the card in if both Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter are off the board.
Would be a mistake if they did not.
I agree on that.
We're going to get to that later in the show, actually.
Will Campbell, by the way, who I mentioned, left tackle player, played left tackle for 3 seasons at LSU, but he does have the opportunity to move into guard if need be at some point in his career. But keep in mind, Joe Thuney, who the Bears acquired this offseason, 32, going into a contract year. Braxton Jones, their incumbent left tackle, is also going to be a free agent after this upcoming year, plus is recovering from ankle surgery. So to me, you can never have enough layers of offensive line depth. The Bears learned that the hard way this past year, Mina. So to me, Will Campbell will be a very enticing pick at 10.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. Also, the financial advantages of getting a tackle on a rookie contract. However, I will throw out one more thing. The Bears are picking behind a couple of teams that could also draft tackles. Notably, I'm looking at the New York Jets, right, at number 7. So I also wonder if maybe there's some desire on their part, if they love Will Campbell, to maneuver up in the draft, if they feel that they have to get him and that there's a drop-off from him and Membu to the next tier of tackles.
If Campbell's not there and you're the Bears, let's say Campbell and Jeanty aren't there, neither of them. Is it the young tackle from Ohio State, the young man from Missouri?
I think Josh Simmons. I think if Arbon Membu is there, I'd consider it. But Membu is a true right tackle coming out of college. Darnell Wright's probably the player the Bears feel the best about having, not just for right now, but also for the next, let's call it 5 to 7 years. I'm thinking more pass rusher if they hang tight at number 10.
And here's the thing, a lot to think about, because they have 3 picks in the top 50, more than any other team in the NFL. So some maneuvering definitely possible. All right, let's get Shefty back in here for some more top stories. Shefty, the Steelers start their voluntary workouts 2 weeks from today. Are they any closer to landing Aaron Rodgers? I feel like that's a mandatory question.
Well, Hannah, I think that we're going to continue to talk about Aaron Rodgers as a top headline until we hear from Aaron Rodgers.